What do you say, everybody? Welcome to Bama Tailgate on YouTube, and let's talk some Alabama football. Get in the comments sections, section and talk. But Mick Gillispie here on this brand new channel on a tough day for Alabama, and I know that a lot of you guys have hung out with me through thick and thin over the years. You know, whether we were doing the post-game show on Tide Radio in Tuscaloosa, whether we were doing it on Bama Insider when it was Rivals or when it was with On 3. And now that site doesn't exist, here we are hanging out and talking Crimson Tide football. But first off, congratulations to Texas. They went into Tuscaloosa and they beat Alabama, and they won the game, and they played really clean football. They didn't make mistakes, and they scored points. And Alabama really didn't have a whole lot of answers. Quarterback play could have been better. In this one, it's not totally, on the quarterback, but, it just felt like there was a lot of issues throwing the football. And then by the time, you start throwing the ball, it was just too little too late. And Texas made all the plays. So there's just so much to get into with this football game. And I think even more, it's, where's this program at right now? What direction are things going? Because, that's the part of this that really hurts the most. Alabama's lost some games over the years, but I don't remember them playing like this and losing. Last year they lost a couple of games on the last play. The national championship game against Georgia, they lost. At the end, they had some guys get hurt, but today was different. And, today Alabama was just outclassed. Texas was better blocking up front. They rushed the passer better than Alabama. They got turnovers and Alabama didn't. Alabama refused to use the other quarterbacks. So we were going to stick with Milroe, who obviously was going to run the football come hell or high water at the beginning of the game. And then, how many times did he throw the ball in the double and triple coverage? How many times did the wide receivers make a big catch to bail him out? Also, Caden Proctor, education out on the field today. Overmatched. You talk about overmatched. I thought the offensive line did a good job, except him. I mean, he was just, getting beat up and pushed into the backfield. And then, the running backs, you got all these great running backs, but they weren't taking advantage of the holes that were open for them. They just don't have that maturity yet where they take a break, where they're able to kind of stutter step, slow down like Najee Harris did. And, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So, it's a game that you're going to look back on and wonder, how do you get this thing fixed? Or is where we are right now? This is where the program is right now. I took Saban being kind of laid back as he's feeling really confident about the team and the program. But the game plan, look at the game plan. Very, very boring. Texas is out there. They're doing trick plays. They're going at Alabama. And it just felt like the entire game, Alabama was taking a step back in the wrong direction. And so, yeah, Gus, you want to ask me, is the Saban dynasty over? I don't know. But I think that's a fair question. And look, everyone in the world's going to say that when people start talking college football. Alabama doesn't get beaten like this a lot. And we'll find out. There was no Bryce Young to bail everyone out today. This was one of those games where Alabama could have used a Bryce Young, because the receivers, I thought, did a good job of catching the ball. But you could tell that Jalen Milroe is just not prepared, and who knows who's on the bench behind him. But to sit back in the pocket, look down the field, and make a read and make a pass, it just took way too long. And then you watch Quinn Ewers get in there, and he's throwing the ball, and he's not waiting in the pocket, and he's looking off receivers, which is something else that Milroe didn't do. And then, and Gus, you're right, man, too many penalties. Too many penalties. You guys get in the comment section. You tell me what you think. But you're right. There were too many penalties. 2 touchdowns got called back. One of them is because the quarterback, instead of throwing from the pocket, wants to run around in circles and no one knows what's going on. And then you throw the ball, and it's not Nintendo, it's a Super Techno Bowl where you can go and then come back and all that. You've all of the stuff that Alabama has done offensively over the years. It just didn't feel like that today. They wanted to do the ground and pound. That didn't work either because you're behind, and then all of a sudden then you forget about that. Let me pull up the stats. And then I'm going to throw up the caller line. And if any of you guys want to talk, then we'll do it. We'll try it out. But Texas was clearly the better football team in this game. And that's something that I haven't said in a long time. I felt like Alabama got jobbed against Tennessee last year. They made too many mistakes, but I thought they were a better team than LSU. Nothing in this game made me think that Alabama is better than Texas. There's not one thing about this game that made me think that Alabama is better than Texas. Now, the good thing is that we're early in the season, and there's a lot of football to be played. And I hate to say that. Trust me. I've been with this program since I was a student. I love Alabama. But I'm also a journalist, and I'm honest. And that's just not good enough. None of that was good enough today. None of that was the Bama standard, which you kind of felt slipping last year. But this year, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm definitely curious to see what Coach Saban has to say. But and if you can win some games, you can get back in it. But forget about the winning of the games. This is all now about the process, because the process needs to be. They need to start the process over. Maybe that's what's going on right now, and. See that my TV's off back here. But anyway, maybe that's part of it. But all I can tell you is this was just as disappointing of a loss.
It's electric
as I can remember. All right, well, let me pull this up. We'll take a look at it together. This is the stats from the game, and we'll kind of look at Alabama stats, and then we'll click over. And again, I'm going to take your calls, but get in the comment section right now. Tell me what you thought about the game. Thank you, Gus, and whoever else might be hanging out, and let me know what you think. But
Alabama not done yet. It went again. I mean, he loses it. You're thinking, oh no.
Alabama got the lead right at the end of the third quarter, and then they were dominated in the fourth quarter. Milroe, 14 of 27, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 bad interceptions. The interception at the beginning of the game changed the entire game. It absolutely changed the entire momentum, the energy, sucked the air out of the stadium, put Texas in a different vibe. And I was surprised, honestly, that we didn't see Tyler Booker come in. I thought he'd get an opportunity, and he didn't. Run game wise, Chase McClellan, 12 yards, 12 carries, 45 yards. Milroe had 15 carries for 44. You don't want your quarterback to have more yards than the majority of your running backs when you have really good running backs like Alabama does. Roydell Williams got 12 yards on 6 carries. This isn't ground and pound. Jam Miller, 2 carries for 6 yards, right? You turn it over here and look at what Quinn Ewers did. First off, 24 of 38, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. There weren't any that were even close to being intercepted. He made good passes.
First and 10.
Brooks had a touchdown, 14 catches, 47 yards. The first touchdown that he threw, that bomb that went up and straight down. I think it was good. It was a good pass.
What a play at the last moment.
Let's pull up the team stats. And let's look at those as well. Texas had 454 yards, 349 through the air. They had 105 yards rushing. They used the rush basically just to kind of, just to just to hit the big plays in the pass game. They out everything to Alabama. 7 of 18 third downs, 2 of 3 on fourth. Bama was 5 of 14 on third downs. That's obviously not good enough. 362 yards total for Alabama, 255 yards passing. But, a lot of that was when they were just trying to save their ass at the end of the game. They weren't able to throw the ball when it mattered. And then, 10 of 90 with the penalties. So we got the penalties back. I thought that after the first game, you only had 2 penalties. Now we're back with a bunch of penalties. Texas 4 of 40 with penalties. So just all the things that you hoped that this team had kind of grown up and gotten past, they did. And that's the thing about this game that worries me the most. That's the thing about this game that I look at and go, you know what? This is why I think Alabama is in a heap of trouble right now. Is that so you can't have all of those penalties. You can't have the turnovers. You got to get the turnovers. But this is the thing. There was never a part of this game where I'm watching and going, okay, Alabama's finding a rhythm here. It felt like Jalen Milroe was constantly confused on what he's supposed to do, wasn't able to throw in the pocket, held the ball too long, watched for the same guy. This felt like a Mike Shula game to me. I'm going to look for this guy here, and if it's not him, I'm just going to tuck the ball and run. You can't win like that. And you're not playing Middle Tennessee, and I get it. This is the first game of the season. So there's a lot of other football that you can improve on. But the problem is that you're telling me that you're going to take this performance and what this team does and doesn't do, and then all of a sudden you're just going to figure it out against Ole Miss, and you're going to figure it out against Mississippi State and LSU and Tennessee and Auburn and everybody else on this schedule. I just don't buy that. I just don't buy that. I mean, I just don't. You could tell that Jalen Milroe had no control over the offense. That there was never a point in the game where you're looking at him going, hey, we're controlling the offense now. We're moving the offense. It just always felt like at any time throwing was involved, it was either I'm throwing deep or I'm going to hand the football off. There was no mid-level passing. There was no timing. He ran for his life a lot, but probably because everyone on the defense knew everything that we knew, and that's if as soon as he sees somebody, he's throwing to that person or he's running. Let me get in the comment section. Jack Rabbit, thanks for the comment, and you're right, man. Alabama was outplayed every single level. Every level. That's the truth. You know what? We've been kicking the crap out of these teams for years. Beat these guys for a national championship. Lucky to beat them last year. And the days of us playing, joyless murder ball, you can't play joyless murder ball if you can't stay on sides, if you can't not grab a guy's face mask, if you can't get pressure on the quarterback. Jalen Milroe threw the touchdown to give Alabama that short lead, and I see everybody posing on the sideline like they're on an album cover, like they're doing on Instagram. That doesn't work either. That's not the way that these guys used to do it. They didn't do any of that. They just went back out and played the next play. I see Saban on the sideline, and I love Saban, and I really do, and I just I just want to see, I want Alabama and Nick Saban to go out on top, whatever. Through all the mistakes, just watching a guy that used to lose it when things didn't go well, to just kind of sit back and it wasn't even, it wasn't even close. Look, dude, I'm going to put you up there because you're an idiot. Look, your team won. Congratulations. You won. Like, act like you've been there before. I mean, act like you've been there. I'm not going on your stupid Texas page and saying anything other than congratulations. Just have a little dignity. Just act like you won a football game before. I see all your messages in here. I mean, give me a break, man. You won a game. You're Texas. You're supposed to win football games. And your shit talk isn't even good. You're a clown. Like, come on, man. Let me go get all the rings that Alabama won, including beating your ass in 2009. That's what I think. I'm not even going to block you just because you're such a joke that it's funny. That's what doing these shows is all about. There's people like you to get in here and write all your stuff. You know what you should say is, hey, man, good game. And I hope you guys do well because it'll help our RPI and maybe we'll get to a championship game. That's what you should say. Or you should say, hey, you know what? We've built the program. We took advantage of NIL, and we've bought a lot of good players, and that's legal, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what you did. And you should be proud of that. You should be proud of the performance that your team. But sending all these stupid messages on here. Stop whining. I'm not whining. What we're doing is we're talking about how you get better, how you improve, and the issues of the game. We got a lot more. We got a lot more to worry about than your win that you guys would have ran out on the football field and tore down the goalpost. You know what? When you win as much as we do, that's not the way we do it. The thing is that you can get on here and talk all that, and that's cool. That's what you do. What we do is we win championships. And we just shake your hand and walk off the field and expect to beat you. And you played your best game, and Alabama didn't play well, and it was a 10-point loss. But you guys played a good game. All right, Saban didn't seem to have that same attitude. Jack Rabbit, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I want that fire back in Saban. What happened to the guy that spanked A.J. McCarron? Where's that guy at? You know, what we're seeing now is like the Mike DuBose. I'm going to get sweat under my underarms, and I'm just going to sit there and clap like this. Come on, man. This is a team of 4- and 5-star players. You got as many coaches and assistants as money can buy. You got the best facilities in college football. You know, and I get it. It's a young team. You're trying to build towards something, you know, or whatever. I mean, but I love that. I miss that fire. I just miss that fire. So I agree with you on that one. Kitty Cat or Kitty City Dabbers. Can Bama get it together and still have a good season? That's the thing that I don't know. That's what I don't know. I don't know. To be honest with you, because I just don't know. I mean, at least we don't look like Clemson, you know, go and get destroyed by Duke. But at the same time, I just feel like there's I honestly, I just feel like there's just so much work to do. And honestly, I think that Texas is kind of nudged ahead of Alabama this season. And this is the problem. And maybe this is what makes us, is that the program's always had high expectations. And as much as I love Nick Saban, this was a program before he showed up. Bear Bryant was here. It was before Bear Bryant got here. You know, Wallace Wade was here winning championships, and Frank Thomas was here winning championships. And after the Bear, it was Gene Stallings winning championships, and now it's Nick Saban winning championships. It's a lot bigger than just having a really great head coach, and I think Nick Saban's the best ever. But it isn't all about him. So can they get it together? Hell yeah, they can get it together. I mean, this is Alabama, Nick Saban. Of course they can get it together. But Jalen Milroe has to be able to look downfield and find a receiver that's open and do it that fast. It's the toughest job on the field. Look at the NFL. Why do you think those guys get paid more than everybody else on the roster? Like sometimes combined, right? Look at those contracts, because you got to have a really good quarterback to win in football. They have a really good quarterback. And Quinn Ewers, he was great. Like just the timing, the way that, you take the snap and you're able to like survey the field and quickly throw the football. So I think that to have a good season, I think that it's going to come down to, I think it's just going to come down to quarterback play. All right, look, this is what I'm talking about. Texas Nightmare. That's what I'm saying. We lost to a better team. Congratulations. Thank you. All right. Coach Saban is old. He can't be getting his blood pressure boiling. You're talking about me saying where the intensity is. Yeah, look, I know Coach is old. I'm not saying I'm trying to challenge him to a basketball game or a coaching contest or drawing it up, But we've seen this guy since 2007, and we kind of know, like normally when he's relaxed, it's because there's a really good football team. I think he was relaxed because he was worried that this team was young and that he wasn't confident that they were going to be able to, he didn't want to show alarm that there were problems, because there's problems. And instead of us like looking ahead down the road and start trying to figure out all the wins that we're going to have, this has become a week to week thing now to me. You got to go down there and you got to figure out how you're going to beat South Florida, because no one cares about this logo right here. No one cares about the fact that you're running out on the field and you got the numbers on the side of the helmets and that you played at Alabama. They just want to beat you because the standard has been so high. So there's really no time for them to sit around and cry about it. I mean, they're really going to have to focus on just getting better. And that was something that really didn't happen last year until they lost to LSU and they were out of it. And I felt like last year was a lot more on Bill O'Brien and his very basic elementary game plan and game style than it was, all of the other issues on the field. And I guess Bryce Young really masked a lot of that. So anyway, all right, I'm going to take some calls, but I want to go through some more of these guys and talk to you guys. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines and we'll talk about it on there as well. But tonight's loss hurt because of our expectations. We have to clean up. 2 TDs called back. Yeah, 2 TDs called back because of penalties. Got to get it figured out. Roll Tide. Let me talk about the two touchdowns that got called back. I mean, let's be honest. One of them was a bad throw by Milroe that tipped off of a guy's hand and then was on a rebound catch in the end zone, right? On what I think was a scramble play. And then the other one was where he's running around in a circle out of the pocket and threw the ball downfield and found somebody. Look, we know that can work. I mean, because Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the world and he does that. But I just didn't feel like there was ever any kind of command of the offense from Milroe. So, I mean, I think that's the stuff that you got to figure out. And watching Caden Proctor get pushed around on the line of scrimmage all night, he's a talented kid, but if that's the best option you have for that spot, then you're in a lot of trouble, because he and maybe it was just his matchup, but I mean, he might as well have been another defender, because they had him in the backfield all night long. Here's one. I think it was close game. It could have been. I think the Bama QB definitely sold along with their D-line. Their D-line was good. They just what they knew is that they weren't afraid of him throwing the football. So they knew that they could put everyone at the line of scrimmage and attack. And that's exactly what they did. Iceman, good to see you, brother. Have we talked about how bad our center was tonight? No, and you bring up another great point. Last week, it was funny when he snapped the ball on the ground, because Milroe picked it up and ran past a team that probably has no NIL guys and not much speed, and he ran it into the end zone. This week, when he's snapping the ball when no one's ready and the bad snaps, there was one play where we're going to, he would sit there and blame Milroe for a bad pass, but the problem was the snap was bad, and then he's trying to, catch the ball and throw it, and there's a guy wide open. It was Chase McClellan on that wheel route play, and he overthrew him. And it wasn't his fault. It was just a terrible snap, and you're right. I mean, if you can't snap the ball effectively to the quarterback, you're going to have a bad night. And maybe that's one of the reasons why Milroe struggled. I don't think it was that alone, but it would have been a lot easier on him had the snaps been there. Good point, Iceman. Thanks for being here. Here's another one. Divine Blood One. Jalen looked like he was in calculus class, can't do the math, put in Ty Simpson and groom him. We don't want no Notre Dame quarterback. All right, look, I'm going to tell you what I know. And I've got a pretty reliable source. Simpson's got a lot of work to do. Just going to put it like that. That the speed of the game, if you think the speed of the game looked fast for Jalen, that's kind of what it looks like for him. The Notre Dame guy, Booker, is the guy that I would say is probably their best option. But we didn't see him. So we don't know. But it would have been nice to see him because it's not like we were really doing a whole lot with those possessions anyway, right? So, but we've been through this before. I want you guys to make sure that you subscribe to Roll Tide Pods. It's with Disrupt Media, and I'm doing a podcast with Jake Coker. And remember in 2015, and I think we talked about it on the podcast this week, is that he wasn't the starting quarterback, and eventually Alabama lost a home game to Ole Miss. He came in that game and threw some touchdowns, and they settled on him. And they ended up winning the national championship. So, there could be someone else that's not Jalen Milroe that they can rely on in that spot. I don't know. But it would have been nice to see what Ty Simpson could do because, I mean, if it's worse than what we saw tonight, then, we're in a lot of trouble. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. This is the first week of the channel. And wasn't something that I really planned to do, but just the way that things worked out, I needed a home for my show. And then, I just realized how much I missed hanging out with you guys and talking football. So, so make sure that you're part of it as we kind of move forward with this thing and talk Alabama football. Jack Rabbit says 99% of the time, the team with the most turnovers loses. Yeah. That's the name of the game. And, in football, you're exactly right. Because you're really limiting yourself as far as possessions go. And I think that's the toughest part of doing this and playing, big games is that when you don't have the football, the other team's got the football, and that means that they're doing something with it and you're not. So, obviously, that's how tonight went. And I think that, I think that this is exactly what I'm saying, Brock, and great to see you, man. Roll Tide. Is that Milroe's holding the ball too long. I think that's what a lot of this goes back to. Is that Milroe was holding the ball too long. And you've got to get rid of the football if you're going to make a play. And the only way you're going to make a play is if you are, making quick decisions and getting rid of the ball. And that's something that we didn't see happening. So let me throw this up here and see if we'll try to take some calls just like we've done for years. If you guys want to talk about the game, to me, when I pull the stats up, I can't really look at anything in this game and say that I really feel confident about much about any of it. It's only a 10-point loss. I get that. But it's like, well, what were you impressed with? The defense? They got gashed. You impressed with the secondary? I mean, they made some plays, but there are a lot of guys getting burnt and holding on the receivers and getting to the ball late and everything else. All right, let me try this. This will be my first call. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Mick. It's a long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm Damien, calling in from Titusville, Florida.
Hey, what's up, man? Roll Tide. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Roll Tide, man. I really got to say, the defense really did look much better tonight. They were on the field for a very long time. And I think that kind of led to those big chunk plays at the end. I'd just like to get your input on that and hear what you got to say.
Yeah, man, just hang on. Let's talk about it. You might be right. I mean, a part of football too is that when the offense is not getting you off the field, you're right back out there. I was excited about this defense because I thought that they were going to be able to. I thought that they were doing a better job of tackling in space. And kind of like where last year you'd see guys like turn corners and then all of a sudden just like bolt, where these guys were doing a better job of blocking. And look, we know Steve Sarkisian's a great coach. I mean, we had him. He won us a championship. He can scheme you and put you in space where it's going to be tough for you to make plays. But, I mean, maybe that you might be right, and maybe it comes back to the offense just kept putting the defense in bad positions.
Yeah, you're exactly right on that. And like I said earlier, because I'm also Iceman, the center really didn't help out Milrose and that.
Yeah,
and I think, and I think that there's blame for everyone on the offense. Realistically, I mean, the O line was not getting the blocks we needed on the edge. That Texas D line, I will be honest though, they look elite in week 2. They look really good.
Yeah,
but. I say that, we got to go back to the grease board and figure out what are they going to do?
Yeah. Well, Iceman, thanks for being on my channel, brother. Appreciate it, man. Call back next week. All right.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Roll Tide.
All right. We'll do.
Great call. And look, I mean, I think that's kind of the attitude that you got to have if you're Alabama. I mean, hey, we just got to go back to the drawing board and start to figure it out. Let me go back to the phone lines again. As we talk Alabama and Texas and a tough loss. Who's this and where you calling from?
This is Clint from Birmingham.
Clint, Roll Tide, brother. How you doing, man?
Roll Tide, man. Even in a loss.
Even in a loss. Sucked.
Always Roll Tide. But listen.
Clint, did you know how it felt to be an Auburn fan?
Did I know how it felt?
Well, now you do. Now you do. That's what they feel like every Saturday. No, I'm just kidding. That sucked, right? I mean, you tell me. Iceman's like being positive. He's like, hey, we just got to, kind of start building back up. We got to go back to the drawing board. I mean, what'd you see?
Man, so many emotions, so many thoughts. But at the end of the day, it boils down to we just got beat. We got beat by a better team.
Yeah.
We did. And it's been a long time since that has really happened. We got beat by a better team.
Yeah.
I think Texas is good. And our offensive line, it's not what it's supposed to be. Heard all this about our offensive line, about how smashing and dominant we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Not
there. Just not there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that too. But I didn't think that it was the whole line. I mean, I just thought that the center kept snapping the ball badly, and then Proctor just was getting pushed in the backfield. The other thing, though, is that the running backs, when there's holes there, they're not using them. Like, I was talking to a guy who played in the NFL and played offensive line about this during the game, and he's like, there's a skill to finding the hole and waiting for it to open and then going through it. It's not just like getting the ball and running to, as fast as you can to a spot. I mean, there's a skill. We saw it with Najee Harris. You know that. Najee was the best at waiting for something to open and then and taking advantage of what the defense gave him, right?
There's a lot of talk about the quarterback. The quarterback, let's be honest, not great. Quarterback play's not great. But, man.
Did that surprise, Clint, did that surprise you, though? Were you surprised, or would you have been more surprised if Milroe came out there and just ripped the ball down the field? What was – okay, let me rephrase this, and you guys get in the comment section. You tell me. I mean this. I want to know what you guys think. Were you more surprised at how well Milroe played last week or how poorly he played this week?
Honestly, going into the season, I thought he played about what I expected. I honestly thought we would have a better running game that would open up some lanes for him to throw. We didn't have the running game.
Look, I hear you. And so you're saying, hey, they had to rely more on him. But part of it was, to me, Clint, the bigger problem that Alabama had was that because they couldn't run the ball effectively, they had to rely on him to throw the ball, to be able to open up the run game. You know what I mean? Like, he was going to have to run the ball.
No running game.
Right. He was going to have to throw the ball for us to be able to run the ball. Right. I think I made that.
That's right. Yeah.
And here's a comment from Steve. Quarterback play terrible. Come on, Steve. I agree with you, man. I totally, I'm going to leave that up there for a second. I totally agree with that. I was surprised when Alabama didn't go out in the transfer portal and, net a big time quarterback. I didn't think that, getting Tyler Booker out of Notre Dame, the backup to Steve Hartman, who transferred in, but probably would have been the starter. That was a kind of a surprising transfer portal move for me when it comes to Alabama, right? I thought that they would, hey, maybe they would get a Sam Hartman or something, but we haven't seen what Booker can do. So I can't judge other than I can tell you that he has been impressive, and there might be a time when we see him. I thought for sure we were going to see him tonight, and we didn't. And I don't know why, to be honest with you. Just because he grasps the offense. He's a smart guy. He's been through this system before. But with that said, didn't this feel a lot like Notre Dame against Marshall last year, at least at times? You still there, Clint?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm sorry. I thought you cut me off.
No. I mean, yeah, I'm just throwing it in there for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think that I was waiting to see another quarterback. And listen, Nick Saban's been doing it a long time. If he can't pick the right quarterback, we got a lot of problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if there's a better quarterback, I think that Saban would have played him.
Yeah.
But there's also this other parallel where you maybe have a quarterback that comes in and he's a game time quarterback, and I would have liked to see somebody else after just we had nothing.
Right.
We had nothing going on at quarterback.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see somebody come in and see what they could do. Maybe you're a game time quarterback. I don't know.
Right.
Your thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I was expecting it. I thought you go Milroe first possession of the second half, and when he doesn't move the ball again, or he throws an interception, or he does whatever, and then to his credit, there was the possession where he rolled out and threw the long touchdown pass.
Hey, here come that swirl. Hey, here come that shake. Hey, here come that swirl.
Hoping that we see somebody else, and then the next possession he throws the interception that lost the game. The two interceptions lost the game. You lost by 10. He gave up two interceptions. One went for a touchdown and one went for a field goal, and you lost by 10.
30-yard line.
And like somebody said on here, the team with the least amount of turnovers is going to win most of the time, and that's true.
59 yards.
So I'm going to throw this up there, Clinton. I'm going to get your opinion on this.
And Duke Clemens, Tim Dredno, the offensive line coach.
See if I can find this. Oh, yeah.
Take them for a walk. That's how you combo block.
Bryden Curry says, every time we have a bunch of celebrities in town, we get embarrassed. Remember when Katy Perry was there when Ole Miss beat us? Or was that at Ole Miss? That's so funny. And then you got Matthew McConaughey on the sideline. Was that the one in Tuscaloosa?
While some see barriers, others see breakthroughs. At Unisys, we offer tech solutions so that you keep breaking through.
That's just
so many.
Yeah, it's just funny to me. I don't know if that's true, but I watched Colorado today, and I was such a huge Deion Sanders fan as a kid. Say like Michael Irvin's on the sideline. There's so like Alabama's like, oh, it's all these old football players.
Josiah Norwood.
They show our sideline. Like, oh yeah, Dante Hightower. Like, good to see you. There's Jahmyr Gibbs. He played last year. Like, they got McConaughey. Where's our? We need to do a better job of bringing out like some heavy Alabama hitters, celebrity wise. Do we even have any? Well, we did have Joe Namath. I mean, that's a pretty good one, right?
That speed that we talked about at the top
Nick,
of the show shows up here early. A one-play scoring drive.
Since 07, we're however many years we are into this regime with Saban. I think we ought to be beyond having the spotlight.
The way you see the
Alabama
world depends on how you look at it. While some see barriers, others see breakthroughs. At Unisys, we offer tech solutions so that you keep breaking through.
Man, I don't know the words I'm trying to
quarterback, so it looks
convey
like
here, but
Jordan Travis's night is over.
We've been dealing with that for a long time.
Right.
That's what's wrong with this team. Then we're going to have a long year.
Yeah, right. Iceman says Stone called Steve Austin. No, he's from Texas, but one of his wives was from Holt, which is right outside of Tuscaloosa. No Stone Cold. We did have Gomer Pyle and Goober Pyle were both Alabama guys, and I think they're both gone from the Andrew Griffith Show. Trying to think who else.
Love the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, great show.
That has to do with
it doesn't have to do with anything, but like celebrities.
While some see barriers, others see breaks.
Steve says, "Do you believe Milroe can eventually become a good enough passer, or should we move on?"
Breaking through.
I honestly,
Very serious.
I'm not confident. I'm just not. I'm not.
Being a good enough passer with the running game that we were supposed to have.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it comes down to. You're going to have to just gash people.
If we've got the running game, then we can do play action.
Right.
Who's an athletic, tough matchup
We
type
can
of tight.
do the old school, like McElroy or McCarron.
Yeah, McCarron, right.
That type of offense.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. They're loaded.
But without
to the goal
a
line.
running
Touchdown.
game, no, he's not the guy. And do we have that guy on the team?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in theory, it's great when you are built on running. Alabama has been built on running. They've won national championships, but now you know trying to get back to that. Obviously, there's some growing pains.
While some see barriers, others.
Steve, great question. Thank you.
At Unisys,
and same with all you guys.
Solutions.
Here's one from another one from Divine.
UCLA's hit the gas.
Where was
now.
the new tight end plays? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we were sold on that, right?
30-yard line.
We thought coming into this game,
touchdown.
Yeah, man, where was the tight ends? I mean, because we were sold on the, you know what, this is going to be one of those years where
keep your eye on.
We're going to have a lot of tight end stuff because that's what they did at Notre Dame, and I didn't see any.
Take them for a walk. That's how you combo block.
And maybe they were calling it and they just didn't get to it.
There a little bit.
Or maybe it just there are none, I mean, I'm definitely curious to where that was, but but when you lose like this, you kind of look back and that's what happens is in these type of games is you start to lose and everything gets really fast. And then all of a sudden you're like, what am I going to do to make it a little easier on our team? Because they're having trouble doing the things that they came into the game to do. They are not executing the game plan. What do we do? Right. And no tight end plays. All right, Clint, I'm going to keep you on for one more comment, let you help me talk about it. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel as we're talking about the Alabama game. We might go 9-3 this year, let's be honest. I mean, at this point, 9-3, as long as you beat Auburn, might be a decent season.
Yeah. No.
Because that's only two more losses. I mean, that's only two more losses.
Yeah, we can still win 10 games. If the offensive line gels and we can have a dominant running game, and you asked what really is the answer? Well, the answer is run the ball.
Right.
If we can get to where we can run the ball, and that's what we thought we were going to be able to do.
Yeah.
Now, is this a gelling problem with the offensive line? I think that's a big deal. I think that maybe we haven't done that
right
yet. It's not far enough in the season, but we could see this offensive line come together and really gel and really maul defensive lines like what we thought we were going to do. This is what we all heard through the off season. That's what I expected tonight, and that wasn't what I saw. It wasn't what I saw last week either.
No. That first interception changed the entire game. And then from that point on, Alabama was just playing catch up. They just never got, once they coughed it up the first time, it just felt like the confidence that Milroe had from last week was gone, and it was trouble. So, well, Clint, thanks for calling in, brother, and roll tide to you, man. Make sure that
yeah, buddy, good to hear from you. Love your show, buddy.
Thank you. Well, this is it's the same show, it's just on a different spot. So. And obviously we had a lot of good times together through the wins, Not a great way to do the first live show with a loss, but you guys have made it a lot of fun. So thanks, Clinton. Roll Tide, man.
Roll Tide, buddy.
So we've almost gone an hour. We'll do at least another 10 minutes and again, comment section, you guys talk, but let's look at the schedule coming up because I just, we talk about can this team win 9 games? Can they win 10 games? I'm worried. Can they win the next game? And maybe that's an overreaction. I mean, maybe it's an overreaction, but I look at the final score and it didn't feel like a 10-point game to me. It just really felt like Texas dominated. Yeah. I really, even when Alabama took the lead, I wasn't feeling very confident about how things were going to go the rest of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just kind of roll through the schedule here together. And if you guys have any more comments, make sure that you drop them in there. And thanks for hanging out again. Debut of the original Bama Tailgate Show post game. So, kind of a tough night to do it, but I appreciate all you guys. All right. So here you go. Here you go. You got South Florida coming up next week. That's on the road. That's a game you're going to win. Then you come back and you play Southern Miss. They won a shootout today with a good Tulane team that was without their starting quarterback, but struggled. Then you go to Mississippi State. Then you go to Texas A&M. Those are going to be 2 tough games, even though Texas A&M lost today, and who knows what Mississippi State's going to look like. Our friend Chris Lowe said on the Tailgate Show yesterday that he thinks that Mississippi State's not going to end up last. So interesting there. Home against Arkansas, home against Tennessee, home against LSU. Those are all games that are going to be tough, at Kentucky and then at Auburn. So this is a tough schedule. And if they don't get things cleaned up, I mean, all these games are losable. I'm not saying they're going to lose them all, but I'm just saying, if you're going to turn the ball over, if you got a quarterback that's not able to throw the football effectively, and your offensive line doesn't block, and maybe not everyone's as good as Texas, but you're gonna run into trouble. And the problem that they have is that no one's going to just let up on them because they're Alabama. And they feel sorry. Oh, well, you know what? Let's not try to beat this Alabama team that's been kicking our asses for all these years. We'll just, because they're having a bad season, we'll just kind of let them off the hook. That's just it's not going to work that way. You're going to get everybody's best every single time because you're Alabama. Steve said Bear used to talk about how you're in trouble if you have to rely on true freshmen. I kept thinking about that watching Proctor and Downs. Yeah, look, I've heard that too. And you're right, Steve. I mean, that's but here's the thing about that is that the world that we live in now is so much different than the world that we had. And this, Bear had, hundreds of guys on scholarship. He didn't have to play true freshman. He had his second team could have probably beat most of the first teams, and some of these guys, if they show up and if they're not playing right away, they're going to go somewhere else, and that's not something that Nick Saban has ever really bought. I don't think he's ever bought into it. I mean, it's always kind of been, hey, this is the way we do it. You're going to earn this spot or whatever. But I think when you're losing guys constantly to the NFL and now the transfer portal, so everybody's going to, the middle of the pack guys are going to bolt out. You're kind of put in a spot where you got to play some true freshmen. But you're right. I mean, Proctor, he's a really good talent, but tonight he looked like a high school kid. And that's because you're right. He's a true freshman. So, jumping out there and You're going up against big, strong guys, and I think eventually he's going to be really good, but not yet. And it's a shame that you have to use him. That that they're not a guy that's got some experience that could have kept you in there a little bit better in that spot. But no more Roydell dump off passes or even up the gut. Yeah, I mean, when everyone was booing in the stadium with some of those play calls, I was right there booing. Like, boo! Do not do this. You got to be able to throw the football, or they'll just do exactly what they did tonight, and they'll just put a bunch of guys at the line of scrimmage, and they'll just stop your run. And Texas, I didn't think Texas was going to be able. I thought that this was going to happen. I was talking about the game before today with some friends, and I said, there's going to come a point where Jalen Milroe is not going to be able to run out of trouble. They're going to contain him in the pocket. He's going to have to throw, and we're going to find out if he's able to throw or not. Either he's going to be able to do it, or he's not going to be able to do it. And that's what happened with Blake Sims in the in the Sugar Bowl game against Ohio State, and he actually did a pretty good job. I thought, talent wise, he was probably the least talented quarterback, but he was a good football player. And then we saw it with Jalen Hurts. He got a lot better passing the ball in the pocket, and look at, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL now. But when we went down to Auburn, the year that he got benched, he wasn't able to do anything. Like they basically kept him in the pocket, and then he wasn't able to throw out of it. So that's what made Bryce Young so good. Is that, I mean, it didn't matter if you kept him in the pocket, he beat you that way. If you let him out of the pocket, he beat you that way. You couldn't read his eyes because he's going to be basically going to be able to look around and figure out, who's open and get them the football. So, I thought that it wasn't there, and it wasn't surprising anybody. And the turnovers really made it to where Alabama had to get out of this game plan where they were going to run the football and try to lean on Texas in the second half. So, I don't know. I think it was, I think it was a lot of different things going wrong. And, all of those things kind of compiled into a dominant night, and it wasn't Alabama dominating anybody. So some of you guys are texting me. But anyway, Steve, thanks, man. And again, if you're not a subscriber, let me hit this thing right now and just give because I can cough. But I want you guys to join the channel. I even got this really cool this thing right here to remind you. Hey, Mick Gillispie here, the Bama Tailgate on YouTube channel, and this is this channel's a week old. So we hit 323 subscribers today, and I was so happy because I got to use my Bear Bryant. Bear Bryant ended up with 323 wins. You guys know that, and so we did like a little thumbnail. It was like, hey, thank you. This is the best part of the show is when I get to talk to you guys when you call in and you text, and we go on here and kind of, break down the games and stuff. It stinks that this first show is a loss, but and with so many things to talk about that, I don't know. Some of you guys have probably been watching me for years. I'm never this critical. We might pick a couple of things out, but tonight there's so many things wrong. There's so many areas where I felt like, and you know what, maybe, like Iceman said, is that if your offense is better, then you're not keeping your defense out there to just get run over, and maybe that's part of it. Daniel, this is a great point, man. I'm so glad that you said this. The entire SEC outside of Georgia is struggling. The only reason Georgia's not struggling is because they're playing a weak, crappy schedule. They're not playing Texas. They're not playing anybody good. They were going to play Oklahoma, right? But, they had to change that because of the, because they're coming into the conference next year. But you're right, man. You're right. Am I shocked that Alabama took a butt whooping at home when I watched South Carolina, when I watched Texas A&M today? I mean, how about that? Miami. College football is a lot different this year than last year. Without the rules where you can just basically just go anywhere you want when you want to, it makes it a lot easier to build some teams. All right, let me go back to the phone lines again. And who's this and where are you calling from?
It's Brett, calling from Jasper.
Brett, roll tide, brother. Thank you for calling. I just want you to bring some clarity to the show, my friend. Take it away.
I don't know if I could bring any clarity. I wish now that I still had Spectrum. That way I didn't have to watch what I saw earlier tonight.
Spectrum. Everybody in the world is mad at Spectrum and Disney and ESPN because they're in a fight and they don't have it on their channel anymore.
Yeah, I went to the local office this past week, not about that, but I was talking to one of the girls behind the counter, and I went to school with her, and I said, "What's this about, the whole Disney thing?" And she said, "Brett, you wouldn't believe. We have had so many receivers turned in, we don't have room to store them."
Wow.
Yeah, but anyway, you're talking about clarity in the ballgame. And you made a great point just a few minutes ago. This is not the same college football game that we saw 2-3 years ago.
Mm-mm.
Things are rapidly changing. Look at Colorado. Without the transfer portal, do you think they're doing what they're doing?
No.
No, absolutely not. Everything, and they want to talk about a level playing field. I don't know about all that. But of course everyone can use it. So, you had Buckner come in from Notre Dame, for Alabama, and Milroe did not play a very good game. The whole team didn't play a very good game. I mean, you score, you go ahead at 16-13, but then the defense comes out on the field. And 3 plays at 75 yards later, it's a different ball game.
That's a great point.
It's a totally different ball game. And then Texas scores 2 touchdowns in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
After the pick. And I don't know. It's, to allow 5 sacks. Of course, you've got a big offensive line, but I don't care how big your offensive line is. If they're getting whipped at the line of scrimmage, doesn't really matter, does it?
No. I mean, and I agree with everything you said. And you tell me, and the thing that's alarming to me is I can name the losses because there hasn't been that many losses, right? I mean, last year you had the LSU game where Bill O'Brien basically drew up a preschool offense, no wrinkles, no tricks, no nothing. And then they played like crap and they lost by a point. They weren't ready at the end of the game when LSU went for 2. They could have got out of there with a win had they been prepared. They call a timeout. They're still not ready, right? Tennessee game was the worst officiating I've ever seen. And it even to the point where it changed my opinion on could games be thrown by teams or officials. Not saying that one was, but could it? Hell yeah, it could. And that game's the reason why. Okay. You go back to the year before, took a 4th quarter lead into the national championship game and couldn't win because no one could catch the ball after your star receiver got hurt. Right. Year before that, won the national championship and didn't lose any games. 2019 lost to LSU and against a team that has a bunch of NFL stars in Tuscaloosa. Tua turns the ball over in that game. And if he doesn't, I think Alabama wins. I don't know if they'd have beaten LSU had they played him again, but so you're not talking about many losses. I mean, you're going, well, if Tua would have just like done this or whatever. Today felt like something totally different. This was like a 2007 Alabama loss.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you is every time Alabama's been down, you talk about those losses and even the big come from behind wins, even when you're down, like the Iron Bowl that went, several overtimes a few years ago, whatever. But it's always, you always had that feeling inside of you that we're going to come back and we're going to win this thing. When we went up 16-13, I said, okay, here we go.
Right.
We're coming back. We're going to win this thing, But tonight it felt different.
Yeah.
For some reason. And I think it's because you look and you're saying to yourself, Texas is whipping our ass in every phase of the game.
Yep. And coaching too.
5 sacks. And coaching.
These guys are doing. They got receivers throwing the football. They're doing reverses. They came to win, and we came. We're just trying to figure out how to get Proctor to block someone and the center to snap the ball and not snap it off the guy when he's not calling for it. Right? Is that a fair assessment?
Right. Exactly. It was a two totally different. Saban was out-coached tonight by Sark. There's no doubt about that. And they came in with the mentality of, we're going to win this ball game. And Alabama came in, and it just didn't feel like we had that energy. I don't know. 5 sacks tonight. 5 sacks. We had 22 total last year. 5 sacks tonight. And this is, an offensive line. I know, they don't have a ton of experience, especially on the left side, but still, and you look at Texas offensive line, I mean, they returned everybody, but also turning over the football. Texas, no turnovers. Bama, 2 turnovers.
Right.
I mean, it's, I don't know, it's frustrating as an Alabama fan to watch something like that, but I tell you, you're right. Sark came in. He had a great game plan, and he kept us, I think, confused defensively. 34-24. But do you, or would you, if you were the head coach at Alabama, would you have tried a Buckner, Simpson, or somebody else at quarterback?
I would, but old Saban wouldn't have had this kind of patience. You know what I mean? I just know, like, old Saban would not have just sat around and just, gone, let the ship sink like this. He'd have been like, hey, let's see what we got with Booker. I mean, the guy's had a good practice. He's played with this guy before. Jalen has never had a game like Booker had in the bowl against South Carolina last year. He made mistakes and he came right back and ended up winning a game against, which I think was one of the best teams in the country at the end of the season last year. It would have been nice just to know what we had there, because, and look, let me throw this up. Another great comment. Miguel says, I like our offense and defense, 13 points after the third quarter was good. Can't stay on the field 100 plus plays. And, and basically I don't believe our quarterback helped his case, right? Look, when Alabama took the lead, I'm going, I do not want to get into a shootout with Jalen Milroe. I just don't.
No.
And exactly what happened was what I thought was going to happen. They go downfield and score. I didn't think it would take 3 plays. And then he goes out and throws an interception. And it was like a high school interception. It wasn't like he was trying to fit the ball into a window. He just threw it up and, oh, hey, guess what? There's those intercept. We haven't seen that here.
No. No, there's real issues, and I was watching your show earlier, and I agree with you. When do you have time to correct these when you're going to be playing the Ole Misses of the world and LSU, Mississippi State? It doesn't get any easier. Of course, next week you have South Florida on the road, but you better figure something out quick, because I hate to be the one to hit the panic button. I kind of like to pump the brakes, but and you talk about the old Nick Saban, and I agree with you there. Something doesn't seem right. I've never been one to really doubt Coach Saban or his coaching ability, but has he lost his mojo? I mean, I don't see the fire anymore that I used to. And I thought, well, maybe he's calmed down as he's gotten a little bit older, but my God, I just don't, I always hated hearing people say the dynasty is over. Is the dynasty over? It may be. I don't know.
Yeah. I was texting with people that I know today, and one of them said that things were starting to end when Alabama lost to Georgia. When they lost that game, they had the lead late, they lost it. Georgia was a much better team that year. I mean, you remember, but the Alabama played a hell of a game against them. And if Williams doesn't get hurt in that game, and look, if they would have kept Mechie and Williams healthy, they'd have beat Georgia just like they did the first time. And then none of the other guys could catch. And at least today, one positive is Isaiah Bond can catch. Jermaine Burton made some good catches today.
Yeah, he can, yeah.
Cedric Law made some good catches. Like the guys, they really bailed out awful passes, from Milroe on some of those, those balls over the middle. He throws a good deep ball. I'll give him that. But, at least
and how many did we have called back? How many did we have called back? 2?
Yeah, 2. Right? But my problem with those are like the one was a tip ball. Was like, it wasn't, it was like, that I saw that happen on the fields, the flag football fields at the rec center at the University of Alabama playing for the KA team. I caught one of those one time. Right. I was lucky. The ball bounced off the defender and into my lap. There's no skill in that. And then the other one was running around in a circle and throw the ball downfield. And Patrick Mahomes makes those plays work. But when you got linemen up the field, they don't know what you're doing. That's also something that happens as well. So I don't know, man. I'm not looking at those going, they would have scored 14 and it'd been different. I just didn't feel like that offense was ever smooth. I never felt like that offense was clean. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm watching Texas and it's like, hey, here's what we're doing. We're going to block up front. I'm going to get the ball and I'm going to go boom, 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 throw it. Or I'm going to throw it. Or I'm going to go boom and throw it. We're throwing passes in this game, like behind the line of scrimmage. They're not there. Guys getting tackled to get, you're running around and throwing the ball back to the line of scrimmage. I mean, just nothing about that offense felt comfortable for me. Nothing felt smooth.
No.
Nothing felt like, hey,
never got in the rhythm. Never
nothing.
Nothing.
And last week's game, that you're talking about a bunch, a team. They don't even belong on the same field as Alabama. I mean, really, that is what's fun about college football is that you can take a group of guys with that type of skill level and you can throw them out there to get basically obliterated because you don't have that in the NFL. And then once in a lifetime. A team with, from those conferences and those schools will actually go out and beat a team like Alabama or Texas or whatever, but it doesn't happen very often. So anyway, well, any other points? And I'm glad you called, Brett, because this has been fun hanging out and I, you're not talking me off the ledge. And I hope none of you guys feel like you're on the ledge either, because, it is what it is. This isn't the 2020
right,
Alabama
and
team.
Kudos
this
to
2021.
Texas.
Yeah, right.
I mean, kudos to Texas.
That's what I said. One guy was on here, talking smack. It's like, look, man, you guys it's Texas. It's not like we lost to Appy State, I mean, like, you got more oil money than any other. Texas right now should be good. Because you're going to walk in and you're going to tell Arch Manning, hey, man, here's $15 million to come play for us, and it's legal to do that.
Right. And let's just see where they end up at the end of the season. This could be a story that goes on and on. This may be discussed again down the road.
What scares me is that if they're not that good, then because we don't know. Last year we thought they were
we
good,
don't know at this point.
And they weren't. They were okay. They weren't that good last year, but they gave Alabama all kind of trouble, and they could have beaten Alabama if Quinn Ewers hadn't have gotten hurt. But we made excuses. Well, they put our band in the upper deck, and it's 110 degrees out here, and it's at noon, and we don't play that early, but it's really at 11, and all this stuff. Not none of that today. Our home stadium, night game, and you saw what happened. So
the national spotlight is on this game, and you lose it by 10.
Yeah, and you lost, and you were never really in. Even when you had the lead, it didn't feel like you had the lead.
No, it didn't feel like it. You thought, you just didn't feel like we had control at any point in the ball game. But hey, man, it was great talking to you, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, roll tide, brother. Let's do it again next week. All right.
All right, roll tide, my friend. Thank you.
It's Brett from Jasper. Love Brett from Jasper, and I love all of you guys as well. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for today. I think we've said it all here. Tough one for Alabama, obviously. Hats off to Texas. I'm going to tell you a couple things I like about Texas. First off, I went to the 2009 national championship game, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in sports. It was the best Alabama experience I ever had. It was the first national championship game I got to see my alma mater win. They ran out onto the field, and it was incredible. I'm going to look at the Daniel Moore print right now. Alabama's got the crimson hats on. They got the crimson jerseys on. They got the white pants. Texas is decked out, and they're white. And they got that burnt orange, and they got the Longhorn symbol. And I had a good time hanging out with a lot of their fans, and I think they had a good time hanging out with us too. It's a fun rivalry. It's a rivalry now that they're going to be in the conference, and they won today because they were clearly better than Alabama. They were more prepared than Alabama. They had a better quarterback than Alabama. They had a better play caller than Alabama, a guy that helped us win a championship in the past, and Steve Sarkisian. And I got nothing but respect for them, and I love Michael McConaughey, or Matthew McConaughey. Not Michael, but Matthew. Maybe Michael's his brother. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Make sure that you, again, if you're not a subscriber, please be a subscriber. Tell people about the show. We'll be back Friday night. We're going to be at the Floor Bama, previewing South Alabama. South Florida. I'm in South Alabama. South Florida against Alabama Friday night from the floor, the world famous Floor Bama. So if you're in the area, swing by. I know some of you guys have already said you're going to be by there. This new channel, it's I'm not trying to compete with anybody. It's just something that I wanted to do, and it's been a lot of fun, man. We're off to a great start, but the next goal for us is we want to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's when you can kind of start doing a lot more stuff with it. So, please, tell your friends about it, like and subscribe. And again, I'm disappointed that Alabama won, but the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Alabama football is going to survive, and they're going to become a better team because of this. Maybe not this year, but maybe this year. I mean, we're going to find out. We got a lot of work to do between where they are right now and when that Iron Bowl happens. So, if you're going to have your growing pains, now's definitely the time to get those figured out. And the other thing that I can say is that Nick Saban's proven one thing over the years continuously, and that's when, you know, they lose a football game, he's really good at helping the team improve and building from that. So we'll see if that happens as well. But thanks for being part of the show, guys, and Roll Tide, everybody. We'll talk to you.